How and why I live my life. So this is a long one. Sort of dates back a while. Just like some heavy thoughts I've been having. I guess I've always been good at enjoying life and just having like living life well. I guess. I mean, it feels like sort of that the values at which I was raised around are to enjoy life, and that should be sort of like the focus is happiness. Um, I don't know if that like just came from my parents, or that came from media, or if that came from just like different things I experienced and things I looked at on the internet. I'm not sure. I do know my parents are a very heavy influence on that, and I've been good at that. I'm lucky that I can do that. I look at a lot of people that I sort of grew up around, and they I, they don't seem to be enjoying life as much as I am. Like they've run into I've sort of always made decisions around, well, what do I like most? What like as in what am I going to enjoy most? What makes me happy? Like even while studying at school, I made computer games, and instead of doing my homework, I would like often focus on doing that. And I mean, like looking back on high school, I wish I got better grades. I like should have studied harder, but at the same time, I'm glad that when I wasn't studying, I was doing something that I enjoyed and something that was useful. But I don't know if it was useful in a sense that if anyone else had been doing it, it doesn't make it useful. It was just because I enjoyed it that made it useful. And because I enjoyed it that I found a way to apply it in university. And then going through university, I just made decisions again around what I enjoyed, what I thought was like sort of relevant for me at the time. And like that's very much got me to where I am today, which is flying around the world, working for a high-tech startup and enjoying life. Working hard though, working incredibly hard, but doing things I love. So, but recently as in the last couple of years, or year and a half, 2 years, I'm not sure, I've sort of been thinking about my what I'm adding to the world. Like making decisions around what makes me happy is great for me, but is that the best for the rest of the world? And more importantly, what is it that the world needs? What is it like? As in, it's not just at first it was sort of like what can I add to the world, and then it was also around like how I want to sort of like I want to finish my life. Well, not finish, but how I want to relive the rest of my life. So before we go into what the world needs, it was I sort of I like it. The early days of the startup, it was very like very much an adventure, and it still is. But it was sort of like very unorganized and hectic and spontaneous, and it was great. It was really fun. Sort of after a year of that, it got a bit tiring, but now I'm really happy that we have a lot more organization. But there was sort of a period where there was that organization wasn't in sight. The adventure was going, it was leaving. And I found myself like on the weekends, and I still am, just going on incredible adventures, just escaping and doing something wild, like jumping off a cliff, or exploring a cave system, or going to new places, doing handstands on top of things, like parkour. It was really, really fun. But the problem with it was that I found myself looking forward to the weekend. And that's a problem because that hadn't been a thing previously. I'd never been stuck in a job, and I still never have been. But I mean, like, I'd never done a job that I didn't enjoy so much that it like sort of it always I enjoyed the work I did so much it always sort of overruled the value of the weekend. It was like no point sort of looking to the weekend more so than what I'm doing now, because what I'm doing now is great and I really love it. And so the weekend would come around and I'd love the weekend. It'd be really fun. It'd be good to have a break. But then it's not like I'd be like, oh, I have to go back to work. It's like, all right, back to work. You know, like this is great. This is exciting stuff, and I can't wait to get back into it again. It's still like that. It's very much still like that. But there was a point where it wasn't like that. It wasn't a very long point, but it got me thinking. Got me thinking a lot about what I want to do with my life, and do I need to mix things up? So the thoughts that I was sort of having about what to do with life, because I'd gotten myself to this point where I was very happy with like things I'd done. Like I was sort of like Meta takes care of me. They're like some parents, right? They feed you, they provide accommodation, they provide you a car, they provide you gas. It's just like life. Life is very easy living, and I wanted to be a bit more independent. So I want to travel the world. I want to go backpacking. I'm preparing to go backpacking. Like my previous videos show, I got all my stuff right there. I'm like ready. I literally bring a cooker with me. I bring a sleeping bag. Like even though I don't need to, it's just like getting ready. So I just very much have that thirst for adrenaline and adventure. And yeah, so I wanted to sort of think about how I wanted to live the rest of my life. So originally I'd broken it down into 3 options. One was escape the world, and by the world I mean the systems of the world. So yeah, one was escape, go live an adventure. 2 was sort of go just do my own thing, like sacrifice everything, like connections with family and friends and all of it, just to fix the most important problem in the world. Find out what the most important problem in the world is and fix it, and just spend all my energy trying to do that, no matter the cost to me. So the third was just sort of fit into the system of the way the world wants me to live my life, which may be doing a 9-to-5 job 5 days a week, and then living on the weekend, retiring, and enjoying my retirement. So I was talking to this guy called Bob, and he's a very, very interesting character. He spent like years making this game called Bob's Game. It was a game about his life, and it was a game that ultimately villainizes Nintendo, the person who's the company he was trying to sell it to, and which didn't end up working out too well for him. But anyway, I'm not sure if he's he had very interesting views on the world. A lot of them were sort of they almost sounded like conspiracy theories, but they also sounded incredibly legitimate. So I'm not sure if that still counts as a conspiracy. Maybe it does. Maybe it just makes me fall under a conspiracy theorist. But he sort of had this impression that the world is run by this corrupt system, like our governments, and everything was just the system that runs the world is incredibly corrupt. And he's very much right. Very, very much right. It was so I won't go into what, how, and why it's corrupt. You can discover that yourself. It's obviously it's going to change from now till when you're watching this, but so this is what helped me sort of define these 3 categories and come up with a 4th. So first, I defined 3. So yeah, it was escape the system. Just stop using money, money that's making the fat cats richer, and taxes, and just bank systems that are all these things that are are seemingly so evil, and just leave them all behind. Go live in the bush, just travel the world. Only ever spend money when I absolutely need to, whether it's ever a life-threatening situation or I need to travel to another planet. I mean, another planet. Well, hopefully another planet, but another country. So that's sort of the escape the world option. Live an adventure. Explore the world. Learn everything you can about the world. Meet all the most interesting kinds of people you can. So that's, option number 1. Option number 2, like I described earlier, defeat the system. go out, beat it, break all the rules. It might mean being an outlaw. It might mean sort of like, sorry, it might mean yeah, like breaking the law. It might mean, it might not. It might just mean like as in just doing the right things, like going feeding homeless people in Africa that can't afford to sort of take care of themselves, or doing something about the AIDS epidemic, or just like figure it out. Figure out what the world needs, and just do everything humanly possible to fix that, and disregard the system. Option number 3. Option number 3 is fit into the system. Take advantage of the fact that I am one of the few people in this world that really understand the system. Like I am incredibly wealthy when it comes down to like 99% of the rest of the world. Like the fact that I have a family that is backup that takes care of me. The fact that I like went through a college or like uni education, although I haven't finished it yet. Like I'm just like incredibly wealthy, incredibly lucky because of all these things. Like I just have a large list of friends that are willing to just help me out. And I have a good life, and I understand the system. I understand the way the world works, which is why I can sort of, like a lot of people sort of see these bad things in it, but I guess they miss out on a lot of other things that you can get very focused on the negatives. So, which I'm a person who's very good at not doing. Very good at focusing on the positives, but in this line of thought, I was focusing on the negatives. A little bit. So anyway, so fit into the system, and make as much money as I can, leave the system, and enjoy my life. Is pretty much that was option number 3, and that always sounded like the default bad option. Like I've rebelled against the system a little bit throughout my life, quite a bit. I mean, like going through high school, I like did what I thought was right rather than necessarily studying as hard as I could. Like I still studied hard, but I like spent a lot of time making computer games rather than studying like I should have. And then from there I got into uni, and again it was my computer games that got me into uni, not my actual studies. Although like my studies helped, I'm sure it was like ultimately I'm pretty sure it was my my computer games that got me in. Like I got in through early entry before they even saw my final grades. From there in university, like I started my own games company. Like I did pretty well through the first half, and then pretty average through the rest of it. And that was because I got really distracted again, like founding my own company and then starting organizing hackathons and doing sort of all this entrepreneurial extracurricular activity. And ultimately I dropped out because I found something better than uni, or at least something that I thought was better than uni, which is Meta. And I flew across to Silicon Valley and joined Meta. And that's sort of where I am now. And you can see I sort of like I cheated the systems rather than finishing them. I just sort of like found my own path through them. And looking back on them, I'm really happy with where I am, incredibly happy. But I may have to go back and finish them. I may have to go back and finish uni. I mean, like, if Meta doesn't work out, that's probably what I'm going to have to do. Either, like, we'll get into what I'm going to do in the future later. We're talking about the past now. So that last option of fitting into the system didn't exactly sound ideal. It sounded like the sort of like the sheep option. Like you're just another one of the sheep, and the government's the herding you around, and the system's hurting you. So that didn't sound like a good option. So I took these 3 options, and I went to a mentor of mine throughout my sort of surfboat rowing career, where I would John Shivers. So me and Connor Scanlon, a good mate of mine, took a road trip down to see him just so I could talk to him about, like, just so I could get his advice, because he's a wise guy, and I appreciate things he has to say. Obviously, that's why I went to talk to him about it. So he helped me come up with a 4th option. The 4th option was fit into the system, but first he sort of helped me understand that the system isn't entirely messed up. And I half came to this conclusion on my own, but he definitely sort of pushed me there in the right direction. And so that was that the system's always been corrupted. Like it's been much worse than it is. Like medieval ages, like they supposedly crucified Jesus. Like I'm not religious, but it's very possible there was a guy called Jesus who believed he was the Son of God, and a lot of people also believed he was the Son of God, and they just killed him for that. So maybe that's a bad example, but like as in they used to crucify people. That's messed up. So that's a good place to start, actually. Like there's so many messed up things in our history, like just an incredible amount of corruption and just messed up stuff. And it's probably currently better than it's ever been throughout the history of humanity. Like, as in the system. The system's, like, I can't say for sure because I didn't live throughout the rest of humanity, but it seems to be better than it's ever been, even though it's still incredibly corrupted. But the reason it's better is because people grow up, like me and like you, and they look at the system and they go, I see all these problems with the system. Why are there all these problems with the system? This is like ridiculous. These problems shouldn't exist. And they're the people that grow up and fix those problems. And that's how the system gets better, because each problem that sort of is seen by the younger generation and is so obviously a huge problem doesn't so much as it may not really compare to the previous generation's problems. Like the problems that I'm facing with my government and the systems that rule the world, I probably shouldn't say government, just the systems that rule the world. The problems that I'm facing with those hopefully won't compare to the problems you're facing, or they will, but not on the same scale. Like it's going to be less. You're going to have less problems, hopefully, but you're not going to know. You're not going to experience the problems that I have, so therefore they're going to be the greatest problems you're going to experience, and the things that just obviously need to change. And it's just the same for me for the previous generations of the world. And so that's just how it works. I'm not saying I've got it harder than you. I'm just saying that it's getting better, or at least it should be getting better. And it's because it looks so wrong, clearly wrong, that it's getting better, and that you can make it better. So, after sort of planning this idea or growing this idea, I created the fourth option. The fourth option, which is to fit into the system and to take advantage of the fact that I know the system, to get myself to a point in the system where I can have the most influence possible for the better. And that's still a tricky option, because like it's gonna be a fight to get there. I've still got to figure out it's also like you never have as much power as you thought you would. So like you're always gonna you're gonna rise up levels of in the system, and you're gonna get to that point, and there's gonna be these constraints placed on you from these exterior influences that you did not previously conceive. So that was a big problem for me, because I just wasn't sure if it was possible to even have an influence over the system. Now I'm convinced there is. Like just through influences over systems that I've had, even not being at the top, I've been able to influence them. And so being at the top means that I can influence it more. Doesn't mean... Okay, so it does not necessarily top, but what I'm saying is there are positions in the system that have influence. And whether or not they have as much influence as you thought they would, they still have influence. And that is the important thing. And you've just got to figure out which position in the system has the most influence in the most relevant areas for you, or for what you think is important for the world. So now I've got these four options. The last one sounds the best, and you can almost like rank them in like a selfishness, or like the first one is incredibly selfish but fun, and the first one doesn't take away from anything. where the second option takes away from my family. It takes away from like a lot of sort of important things that like friends, and it's risky. Like, but they're all risky. But this, like, is in, I could end up in jail, I could die. But it has a very high return, or not return, high potential. Then there's the sort of like third option. It's sort of the safest. It's not necessarily. It's a little bit selfish because I'm not doing the most I can to improve the world. I don't know if that's selfish or if that's just not good-hearted. Then there's sort of the fourth option, which is like the least selfish, and it's also, it seems more comfortable, which is something until recently I wasn't happy with. I didn't like the idea of being comfortable. Being comfortable was like slow, and being comfortable was taking care of yourself, and I should be living an adventure, experiencing everything, and doing what I can to improve the world. And that doesn't, and I can sacrifice. Comfort is something that I can sacrifice, and I'm comfortable. Like, I'm comfortable sacrificing comfort. The irony of that, but yeah, that's right. That's it. Like, I can be comfortable in situations that others are not, and that's something that's incredibly valuable, I feel, but not necessary. Yeah. So, I still have that incredible lust for adventure. I still want to change the world for the best. I still want to be close to my family and value my family. And I don't want to just be a part of the system that makes the fat cats fatter. But maybe that's a sacrifice. Maybe that last one's a sacrifice. That's the real sacrifice I have to make. So here's, at least to some small extent. But so here's where I'm at. Here's where I'm at. I don't know that big problem. And what is the most important problem in the world? And so I've been like looking into like the Millennium Goals from the UN, and like, because they've outlined sort of some of the biggest problems in the world really well, and so that is sort of like, I guess, goal number one: figure out what it is that I need to do in the world. So currently, I feel it's education. I feel a lot of the problems in the world are can be indirectly fixed with education, or the fact that there's no education is making them worse. It's like a lot, like just global education at a sort of a like education standard seems to be the best way to go. That's currently what I'm feeling. Like, you should, hopefully that'll change by the time you're watching this, although I think it's going to be a sort of intergeneration fix. But so how do I figure out this problem? Sure, researchers help, but I've always been one for sort of first-hand experiences to learn things. Like, instead of spending a heap of time reading about how to set up my tent, I've just been setting it up every night. Like, I should probably be doing both. But and so with this one, like, I'm trying to do both. I'm researching it, but I need to get out in the world and experience the problems of the world. That's what I really need to do. Experience the problems of the world. And that is going to be an incredible adventure. That is going to be my biggest adventure yet. So why aren't I doing that right now? That's a good question. Why am I still with Meta? Well, Meta is easing me into that. Meta's sending me around the world. It's not going to be showing me the problems of the world. In fact, I'm going to see the world from the top, or at least relative from the top. Going around with Meta. Like, I'm going to be staying in hotels. I'm going to be meeting important people. Like, it's not by any means seeing the sort of underlying all the problems in the world, but it's getting me around the world, and that's gonna make my next trip around the world so much easier. Being familiar with places, being somewhat familiar with places, understanding what it takes to travel around the world. It's like I'm having my hand led. which is going to make things easier. It's also building me up an incredible amount of skill in the business world, which is going to be very, I think is going to be very important when I build up, a solution, is to be able to fit it into the systems of the world. And that's what this is teaching me, how to fit ideas into the system of the world. And so that's another reason why I'm staying with Meta. Another reason I'm staying with Meta is this is incredibly fun. I love it. Being happy is important. It's also giving me credibility to say that I was with this, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. That last one is the value of that last one is that, is this something that I need to experience? And it's yes, I think it is. But and only because it's something I think I need to experience it is it important. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity, because there are lots of things that can be once in a lifetime opportunities that you don't need to experience. And it's only if it's something that I need to experience that I should stick with it. I could probably get this experience elsewhere, but I think this is going to be the best chance to get this experience. So, in a sense, I'm going to be doing all of my options. I'm going to be traveling the world, living an adventure, and I'm going to leave the system to see the problems the system has caused. From there, I'm going to figure out the biggest problem in the world, which I'm currently guessing is around education, but could be wrong. And then I'm going to figure out and hopefully have the skills to be able to find a solution that fits into the system and use that to sort of work my way through the system to get myself into a position, get myself into a position where I can fix it or start a solution. Now, that brings me to these videos. Because this problem, I'm assuming whatever problem it is that I decide is the most important problem in the world will not be solved in my lifetime. And the most valuable thing that I can actually add to this world is you. And making sure that you're brought up to do the best you can in this world. Now, the best you can could mean going to a soup kitchen once in a while. I've never done that. I should do that. But, it could be just enjoying life. There are so many people out there who are not enjoying life as much as they should, and are stressed out about just getting by on life, and therefore they're just sort of another cog in the system. And I mean, the system needs improving, I think, more than it needs cogs. I mean, it needs cogs to run, and it's not going to. I don't know if it stops running. I guess that means a revolution. Hopefully, that means good things. I don't mean a lot of bad things, incredible amount of bad things, but ultimately it could mean a lot of good things. But yeah, I think more important than just having cogs in the system is having sort of people who are going to fix the system, and those people are often cogs in the system anyway. But they're just sort of more than that. So I guess it's, for me, it's important that you end up more than just another cog in the system, and that you enjoy life, enjoy everything you're doing, and you add back to the system, you add back to the world. And that's why I'm doing these videos, because this is I'm learning all these things, and it's often sort of growing up, there are so many things I'm learning now that my parents tried to teach me, or other important people tried to teach me. And it almost seems like if I could have experienced it when they experienced it, if they could have explained it when they learnt it, then I'd be able to see it so much clearer. So I'm hoping that as I'm evolving these thoughts, it'll help you to watch me evolve these thoughts. and it'll help you to evolve your own thoughts and your own ideas. And I want to make sure this message gets to you in case something happens to me and I can't send this message to you. It's sort of time-dimensional Skype call one way to tell you to enjoy life and do the best you can. Yeah. So that's a lot to unload, but I'm sure there's plenty I can still add to that. But I think I covered the most of it in terms of what I want to, where I'm currently at. I'll be calling back when I evolve it further. This is currently the latest evolution in the fact that it's a call to you. That's it. Sending the message back to forward to where it needs to be. Back to where it needs to be, forward. I'm not sure. But ultimately, I need to do like I've said this before, I need to do everything I can in the best way possible so that I can be an example for you as to how you can do it better. And so that's my latest addition to it, is that there's all these great things I can do and I want to do and I will do, but it's only going to last my lifetime, me doing these, unless I pass the skills on to you. And can't really pass skills on to you, like that's unless I like skills. The skills aren't what I'm passing on to you. It's the mentality, and it's not even passed on to you. It's more I'm just sort of like I'm showing you how I got it in the hope that you can get it too, or that you find it your own way. It's a hard thing to transfer. Like I'm good at motivating people. Very good. That's like one of the things I do well. But this is like a step on top of that. So good luck, and I look forward to my next evolution of this thought and yours.